Annual meeting of the Little Sebago Lakes Association. In this, our 101st year. I'm Gary Kenny, and I'm honored to be your president. I've been on the board a little over 5 years. I live on the upper end of the Middle Lake. If you're familiar with Birch Island, we're the third beach to the right of to the east of the Birch Island footbridge, and we welcome visitors. We've got some administrative things to take care of before we start the meeting. The exits are to the rear and to that side. Restrooms are in the back. And this meeting is being recorded by the Town of Gray, and the video will be available on the Town of Gray website as well as the Little Sebago Lakes Association website. When we have items to be voted on, please note that there's one vote per property. The meeting is expected to take 2 to 2.5 hours. I'd like to get through it without a break, but please feel free to get up, stretch, and mill about, and buy some merchandise if you'd like to. Before we begin the meeting, I'd like to recognize the veterans that are present here. Could you please stand up and be recognized? And thank you very much for your service. And if you don't mind, would you rise again and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, by liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, and I would now like to introduce the board members and our board assistant, starting with our vice president and treasurer, Jim McBride.
I know. Every person, please.
Next is Cheryl Alterman, our secretary.
Woohoo!
Pam Wilkinson, past president.
Yeah.
Andy Mayo. Rod Bernier. Tim Greer. Kevin Murphy. Deborah Lavoie at our registration table. Kevin Kazerman. Arnie Rosario. Barbara Sawhill. Lane Albert. Betty Caton. And I don't believe Susan Franzetti is...
hiding in the back.
Oh, hi, Susan. Thank you. And our board assistant, Susan Nelson.
Woohoo!
Welcome, everyone. Our first presentation is from the Maine Warden Service, and we have Warden Stephen Milton here with us. Stephen? Since it's being recorded by the town.
Okay, sure.
Any place you want.
Yeah, I'm just gonna grab my laptop here. Sorry. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So I got an introduction, but my name is Steve. I'm a game warden. I cover mostly Androscoggin County. I grew up in this area. I grew up in Naples and, grew up recreating and fishing and hunting in this whole area. So I'm pretty familiar with Little Sebago Lake and the whole area around it. But I do cover Androscoggin. I cover from Poland all the way over to Lisbon. I have 7 towns, and just like most game wardens, we cover vast areas and have pretty weird schedules. But so Little Sebago Lake, I've been working these extra details. I'm sure you guys have seen us all around. You've been checked by us 100 times probably. So, and I know that kind of gets annoying. You get checked one day and then the very next day you get somebody checking you, asking you for life jackets again. And it does get frustrating, I imagine, for you guys. The problem is there's several of us that work these details, and you've seen us on all different boats and different combinations. But if I work today and somebody else works tomorrow, they don't know that I checked you yesterday. So I know it's frustrating. Bear with us. We're just trying to keep your guys' lake safe. And obviously a lot of people come and go from the lake that don't live there all the time. And that's really what we're trying to do. So I'll get started here. I just want to talk about the details that we do work, and you guys, everybody contributes to those. And we have in the last, let's see, including 4th of July weekend. So in the last week and a half, Maine Warden Service has basically contacted 282 watercraft on the lake. And obviously some of those are repeats like I was talking about, but 282 watercraft, and we've addressed 35 mostly safety violations. And that's between warnings and summonses both. So I think a lot of our guys are, the biggest thing that we want to do is educate out there, especially with people that are new to boating or not from the lake area, right? Some of the violations that we've addressed, which you might be familiar with. Sorry, I'm trying to hold both at the same time here. Oh yeah, that works. Bear with me. I was out till 3 a.m. this morning working and was able to get back here. But so some of the stuff that's not safety related that we still enforce is registrations, fishing without license, trespass. I'm sure there's some people in this room who have had some trespass issues with boaters and paddle boarders and kayakers and the whole nine. But some of the safety violations that we're enforcing are obviously the things that we check when we stop you guys. So life jackets, type 4 throwables, fire extinguishers, horns and whistles. Let's see, lake and river protection stickers. That's big for milfoil. As you guys know, Little Sebago has milfoil, just like every other lake around here, and we do the best that we can to prevent that. We've been doing some extra details at the boat launches. If you've gone down and launched, you'll see sometimes there's a game warden sitting there with the milfoil inspector, and we're pulling weeds off boats and making sure people's drain plugs are out when they show up, and if not, we're turning them away. Boater education is another big one for our younger kids that are out boating on Little Sebago, and then obviously towing without an observer. We've had a couple of those. So people just towing water tubes, real close to people's houses, and there's only one person on the boat and there's 2 people on the tube. That's super unsafe. So I was given a small list of things to talk about today. And I'm going to go a little bit further into some of these and some other things, but we're also going to open up to some questions. And if anybody has a question while I'm talking, please raise your hand. I'd absolutely call on you. Have you guys noticed the lake? This is actually a question that I'm wondering because it seems a little bit slower for me this year out on the lake than it was last year and the year before. You guys have noticed that, a little bit less people. On that topic, I've noticed that all around. So like Long Lake, Big Sebago, I cover those too. I've noticed that there's been kind of seemingly a decline, which makes me happier in my day-to-day job. But obviously we want people to use the lake and be safe on it. Another thing that I've noticed personally this year is registrations. I'm not seeing as many registration violations, but I'm seeing more life jacket violations. I don't know what the trend is and why, but I guess it's not necessarily a good thing with the life jackets. We do carry them, and I know you guys have a safety patrol out there too. We carry them, so a lot of times, like if I come up on a 16-year-old kid in a kayak and he doesn't have one, I'll give one to him for the day, and then I'll go pick it back up later. But what I'm hoping that does is not only keeps him safe that day, but just that contact with the game warden makes him remember next time he jumps in his boat that he needs a life jacket. Have you guys been noticing a lot of trespass issues this year on the islands or on your properties? Okay. When you guys are dealing with that, is everybody dealing with that personally, or are they calling the warden service to come assist with that? That's just I'm just curious about it. Are most people responsive when you tell them to get lost, or are they jerks about it? Half and half, yeah.
What's the number we should call?
Let me give you an easier number here, because has anybody had to call the warden service? That can be pretty difficult. You go to Maine, so we dispatch through Maine State Police, and then like I explained to you, we all cover 7 towns. So we have weird schedules. So if I cover Androscoggin, but there's days that I cover Little Sebago in my territory as well. So like on a normal day, I cover 7 towns, but if the guy next to me is off, now I'm covering 14. So sometimes it can be kind of hard to get through to us. And then, of course, our office in Gray is only open Monday through Friday. So if you call that one on the weekend, you're not going to get it.
What number would you want us to call?
That's what I'm trying to get you the right one here, because there's a couple of them, and so that's the 800 number. That one's the good one there. So it's going to be 207. Actually, if anybody wants to write this down, 207. 624-7076. And what that number will do, it actually goes to our Gray headquarters. If nobody's there, it turns over to dispatch in Augusta. So like I said, Monday through Friday, like 8 to 4, we have people at Gray, but outside of that, it's going to go, your best bet's to call Maine State Police. So, and we dispatch through all of them.
Can you say that number again?
Yeah, 207-624-7076. Yep. So
Cover, what do you mean by cover?
cover towns.
Yeah.
So what that means is, on my normal work week, I am basically the only game warden responsible for 7 towns, and for me that's Poland all the way over to Lisbon, up to Spadus, Lewis, and Auburn in the middle there. So the game warden below me that covers your area, he covers Gray, Cumberland, North Yarmouth, that whole area as well. So and then I don't know if you guys have probably met Pete Herring, Chuck Sawyer. If you've been out on the lake and been checked, those are some of the guys that are covering your area now. So the actual game warden for Gray is Chuck Sawyer. And then for Wyndham, it's Pete Herring. Those are the 2 game wardens that basically cover the lake. They kind of split it. So. Does anybody know when the extra details started for the Maine Warden Service having us out there throughout the summer? Just Sharon. Yeah, what year? 2016. Oh. Wow. Okay. Huh. Yeah, that's awesome. No, I was curious. I didn't realize it was that long ago. So I've been a game warden for 6 years. Before that, I was a police officer down in Freeport. So I was curious if there's been a noticeable difference since we've been out there. That's good. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's awesome. I guess another thing I want to talk about that I've been noticing a lot is headway speed issues. Most of the time I stop a boat that's doing more than headway speed within 200 feet of shore. And this is all around the area, not just Little Sebago, but I stop them and I ask, the first question I ask is, are you familiar with headway speed? 90% of the time they say, yeah, I can't go fast by the buoys. It's like a common misconception or just uneducation on the boating laws, but most people think it's just the buoy area. They don't realize that it's 200 feet all the way around in all the islands, all the shorelines. So that's a big thing I've noticed with headway speed. And then obviously wake boats, and they're pulling water skiers, and they're not out past that 300-foot mark, which is obviously a fairly new law. Are you guys? Has there been an increase in wake boats this year, do you think? Okay. Yeah, we're seeing that all the way around, and that we got that 15-foot of depth law that we made, and then the 300-foot from shore law. That 15-foot of depth can be kind of tricky to enforce sometimes. You basically, if you ever see us out there and we get behind a boat and we stop them and then you see us for a minute, and we've got this rangefinder that most people use for golf or hunting, and it's a Bushnell rangefinder. They are regulated by weights and measures, but we'll get into their track and we'll take a measurement on the shore, and then we'll go talk to them. That's giving us our distance to the shoreline, but basically we're relying on our electronics on our boat to tell us the depth. So if somebody's in like 16 feet, it's kind of, it's more of a learning opportunity. We tell them to push out and get out towards the middle of the lake. But if you guys have any issues with those at all, the biggest thing that I can recommend, try to get the registration number. It's hard to do, but it's hard for us to follow up. If I get a call and I'm in Lewiston and it's, I've got a boat that's too close to shore, it's really hard for me to get over to Little Sebago, get on the lake and catch that guy before he goes into his dock or puts on a trailer and leaves. So, yep, questions?
Is there a chance that you might make that on a map that people could see? Like, I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
I live in the lower lake, and so when you were to take that 200 feet from each shore, that really slims down the area.
It sure does.
Bay that you can made it.
Yeah, especially in the lower, because you have that peninsula that comes up through the middle.
So I would think that really limits the whole bay might be up.
Yeah, I don't know if our department would make a map. I'm not sure. That's something I can look into and maybe talk to leadership about. But that's a good idea. Yeah.
I'm from Highland Lake, and I'll be speaking a little bit later, but we do have a map.
Dennis, can you come up and speak into this system? And stand beside him.
I'm from Highland Lake, and we have put together a map that does show that, over 15 feet, and that's really critical. I'm trying to remember exactly who did that for us, but I think it was some combination of Cumberland County Soil and Water Conservation District and the DEP. But it's really good. People can see what areas they can, and I'm a little bit familiar with Little Sebago, and there's a whole lot of areas that people should not be using the wake boats.
We also have a map, but it has not been updated to the 300 feet. So I think that's one of the things that we'll be doing this year is updating the map. And I think you'll see some of the spaces eliminated.
Yeah. Another question back there?
Yeah, just, in addition to the 300 feet and the fishing street, are there any areas on the lake that the wake boats are restricted to not go into?
Not that I'm aware.
Can you
Or are
repeat
those
that?
the only two that?
Yeah, so he asked, besides the 300 foot and the 15 feet deep zones, is there any areas that wake boats are not allowed on the lake? I don't believe there is. No.
Just a quick question about fireworks. If somebody's shooting off fireworks on the lake at 2 in the morning, who calls it?
Fireworks are town regulated and they're usually ordinance restricted. So in Little Sebago is kind of funny because it's divided. There's a couple towns there. So it's going to depend on the town that you're in, and you would contact your local authorities. So obviously Gray is covered by Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, and then Windham is Windham Police Department. So it's going to depend on those towns' ordinances. And the Warden Service doesn't enforce town ordinances. That's up to the local departments. Go ahead.
My question is, with the wake boats, are they in violation if they're putting out the same wake that they would use for towing somebody, but if they don't have somebody in tow? Because we see that often.
So I guess to answer that question, it's kind of a gray area at the moment. Basically, what we're looking for the violation is in tow, and then they're also within that 300 feet or in 15 feet or less water. But they, like you're asking, they have those ballasts in the boats and they fill them with water, and you're wondering if we can still enforce that. I would say we can, based on watching the wake hit the shore. So the whole idea behind that 300 feet is a wake boat versus a normal boat that doesn't ballast that much water still makes that same wake at 300 feet where a normal boat would make it at 200 feet. So the way the law is written, if they're creating that wake on the shore, a visual wake that I have to be able to see while I'm enforcing, then I can still enforce that. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or topics? Anybody want to talk about anything else? Go ahead.
Just a clarification.
Yeah.
200-foot rule doesn't take into account pulling a skier or a tuber, landing or taking off. It's okay to be within that 200 feet.
Correct, yes. So the question was if a boat is taking off or coming back into shore with a skier, there is an exemption in that law that if they are pulling the skier up on the plane or coming into shore, the 200-foot rule does not pertain to them. That is correct.
My last question. I know I asked this last year. Since it's 300 feet, we're not permitted, is this correct? We're not permitted to put a marker out there that helps to identify to a boater that this is a 300-foot mark as compared to not.
Yeah, that is correct. So the question was, since the rule is 300 feet for wake boats, nobody's permitted to put out a buoy out to 300 feet like you would see in some of these no wake zones. That is correct. We cannot put anything out past 200 feet at this time. Obviously, the 300-foot rule is new, so maybe there will be an adaptation in legislature for that. But at this time, 200 feet and in is not considered navigable waters. So we can only put something in the water that's within 200 feet. The only exemption to that is if it's 600 feet out into the middle of the lake and there's a giant rock that people are going to hit that's just under the surface of the water, then the state will more than likely put a buoy on that. Most of our southern Maine lakes that have any kind of something protruding up in the navigable waters are marked. Obviously, if you get up into northern Maine and stuff like that, you got to be more careful. But we're pretty good at marking stuff down here. So I don't know if the legislature will end up changing that to basically adapt it to the same as the 200-foot zone. But for right now, no, we cannot put anything out at 300 feet. How am I doing for time?
You're fine.
Okay.
Like, who places the booths? 'Cause I live in the house, and I feel like they do.
Sure. So the question was who actually places the buoys. They do move a little bit here and there. It depends, and I say that so like a lot of lakes that have associations, sometimes the state grants the associations to put them out, and sometimes the state puts them out. Game wardens do not put them out, just to be clear. But it's either the state or an association. Usually we try to delegate it to the associations. I'm not sure. The state puts it out for Little Sebago. So yeah, they will. They don't put them in the exact same spot, but usually is the issue that you're talking about, it's further in or further out. So people are. Oh, okay. So, and you put your float in the same spot and now the buoy's different? Okay. Yeah. Sure. And I think some of that might be is when they go to put the buoy out, the water line does change on the lake. So like if the water's low or higher, it might, they're taking measurements when they put it out that day. Things change as the season goes on. So, yep. Question?
I have a question about the right-of-ways and the buoys that are out there. Is there,
Question is right-of-ways and buoys that are out in front of them, correct? Okay. So and when you say right-of-way, do you mean like a shared private boat launch or like a beach?
Yes.
Okay. So the way the law is written in the state of Maine for mooring balls or anything like that, basically mooring balls is what we're going to talk about here. So inland waters, the laws on moorings are very, very loose. Typically, we rely on the towns to make ordinances on moorings, mooring fields, and whatnot. I am not sure, because I don't cover Wyndham or Gray, I'm not sure if they have an ordinance on moorings. What I will say is a mooring cannot be more than 200 feet out from shore, and it cannot block navigation. So if somebody decides to put a mooring 5 feet from your dock, they're blocking your navigation. As for right-of-ways and out in front of right-of-ways, unless it's an official boat launch, then it's not technically a navigable water. So if it's just like a little private dirt launch that's been there for years and years and years, but not an official, actual boat launch, then somebody can technically put a mooring ball right out in front of it, yes. The best thing I can recommend to that, I've dealt with this a lot. I used to cover down in York County. We dealt with issues all the time on Ospey, Great East, Square, all those bodies of water down there. It's try to be nice with your neighbors, because that, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of enforcement when it comes to that. So if it's not blocking navigable waters and it's not more than 200 feet, we have to rely on towns to make ordinances on moorings. Any other questions?
I just want to thank you, and just, there's a little story to this, that board members are not exempt from tickets. Not me personally, I won't identify.
Remember
who-
me? Remember my children?
I don't remember anybody. I just go and do my job. No.
Clearly knowing Sharon Lamontagne did not help me.
Set.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
I hope you can get some rest.
Yes. I actually have a Little Sebago detail tonight. I will be out there. So.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Thanks.
Thank you.
Our next presentation is the Town of Gray Resiliency Committee. And from that committee, we have Audrey Piper, Dennis Brown, who already had a question and some information for us, and Andy Barright. With them will be Lane Albert, our board member. Starting off.
I'm ready. Just drop it in there. Okay. Can I just hold that? Or what do I do? Okay, good. I didn't hold them both. You have if you can, Kevin, if you can put the picture up that we have. Yeah, that one. Thank you. So we'll get started with our presentation in one sec, but I wanted to highlight a special event that Pam and I were able to host. Members, we had 6 members. They were aged 9 to 11 from the Gray New Gloucester Middle School, come out to Pam's property, and we did a watershed education, right? And you've got this pretty cool tool from the DEP where you place farms and homes, and you put little dirt around the home. You put little dirt around the farm for manure. You have an auto place. You put little drops of black water for oil on the ground. And then the kids come and they take spray bottles, right? And they rain on the watershed, and you get to watch all that dirt make its way into the lake. And it really has a huge impact. The kids had a great time. We actually, when they showed up, there was a loon nesting right on the island, right across from Pam's property. And so the first thing the kids got to witness was, the male-female loon, protecting the nest, kind of taking turns, right, spending time on the nest. It was a fantastic event. So. Watershed education, very important. We got to take an opportunity to teach 9 to 11-year-olds, horribly engaged, right? The kids were very engaged, and we're going to be able to expand upon, what we've done with the school. We're going to find other ways to engage with these schools and get kids interested in taking care of the lakes. And this will also be our next level, our next group of lake stewards, right? This is our next group. So we're working on getting that done. So with that, let me bring up what we've also been working on. Audrey, Andy, and Dennis, come on up. We've been working with the Gray Resiliency Committee and DEP and Cumberland County Soil Water Conservation District on looking at the stressors of our lake as well as the other lake sheds in Gray, but we're going to focus on Little Sebago, and identifying the stressors and then trying to figure out what are the best ways to remediate, right? What's our priority list to remediate the stressors to our lake? And before we get into the priority list, which we'll just talk about briefly, I want to introduce the team, teams of our members members of our team that will take over the presentation. And so first, Audrey Piper will be discussing the Gray Resiliency Committee, work we've done to date, and what next steps are. Audrey, oh yeah, there you go, perfect. So Audrey is a Resiliency Corps Fellow, working with the town of Gray and the Greater Portland Council of Governments. Go home, Google it, I did. It's a pretty neat organization. They seem to help out small towns that don't necessarily get things done on their own and, right, kind of build a consensus. Okay, so she'll tell more about that. Then Dennis is going to step up, and Dennis is going to talk about phosphorus issues that they encountered at Highland Lake and how they remediated, and what he's also been doing to help with ordinance work in the town of Gray. Dennis is chair of Highland Lake Leadership Team, an official town committee for both Windham and Falmouth. He's chair of the Windham National Resource Advisory Committee and recent past president of the Highland Lake Association. I learned tons from Dennis. Lastly, Andy Barheit will also speak, and we're gonna tell you about the ordinance in Gray, the phosphorus ordinance. And Andy is a member of the Gray Resilience Committee, and his focus has been working with code enforcement on getting a draft ordinance put in place that the town can accept. So, do we need to pass everything or just this?
Everything.
Okay, so let's start with this. And with that, Audrey. All right, you just need to clip. I'll let you clip on it.
Thank you.
Sorry.
You're good.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's nice to see so many people out today being engaged with their lake association. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the Town of Gray's Resiliency Committee. We're a town council created committee of volunteers, and we work on sustainability and resiliency issues. If I could have the next slide. All right, so a big motivator for our work is some changes that are happening in Gray and Windham and the region in general. And that would be development, which we're seeing increased across the community. And that is creating more impervious surfaces, which contributes to greater runoff in the lakes. And then in addition, we're also seeing that climate change is bringing more storms and extreme precipitation that also leads to more water and soil and other nutrients running into our lakes. And so what that is doing is creating phosphorus runoff, and that's what we really want to address with our work. So we are doing that in two ways. One is a watershed management plan, which is a comprehensive town-wide list of priorities that will help guide Gray in our actions to protect the watersheds and lakes. And then in addition, we are also creating a surface water protection ordinance, which Andy is going to speak about a little bit more in a little bit. And then next slide. And then the watershed management plan is basically trying to identify the biggest list of priorities that we can take to help protect the lakes. We're creating this list of actionable strategies using data that has been siloed in different areas. That data analysis and action plan is being created by Cumberland County Soil and Water District. And this work is funded by a community action grant that we received from the state. So it's just being funded with that. And in addition, we're also collaborating with stakeholders, and Pam Wilkinson has been very involved with helping with that as well. The next slide, please. And then I wanted to go over our next steps. So one of the things that I've been working on, along with Kyle from the town, is creating a Protecting Gray's Watershed series. So we're creating a list, we're creating some educational videos, and we even collaborated with Little Sebago Lake to create a Lake Smart video that's going to be coming out soon. So watch for that. All those videos are going to be on the Town of Gray YouTube channel. And in addition, I'm going to pass out a little sign-up sheet. The next video I'm working on is about the shoreland, and it would be great to have some local collaboration videos of vegetation or gardens or shoreland rehabilitation projects that you're working on and people recreating. So if you're interested in helping out with that project, that would be really great. And then in addition, we are presenting to the Town of Gray's Town Council on August 5th, tentatively. And that'll be an overview of our work and the watershed management plan. We know that all of you are very engaged with your lake and care about your community. So if you're interested in watershed protection, the Town Council would love to hear from you about that. And these workshops are open to the public. In addition, the Surface Water Protection Ordinance is currently going to be reviewed by the town's ordinance committee. And we have the date TBD, but we will additionally be doing an ordinance workshop with that. And if you'd like to connect with us at the Gray Wild Blueberry Festival, that's on August 9th as well.
Oh, hi. Thank you for having me here today. What I wanted to do is share the experience that we had on Highland Lake, what we did and what the results were. I could take a lot longer than I'm going to take this morning, so I'll stick around later if anybody wants to chat any more about it. But we had, Highland Lake went on the impaired list back in about 1990 and then came off in 2010. But in 2014 to 2017, we ended up with an algae bloom that less than 2 meters of Secchi disc. So water clarity was, if you were in water up to your chest, you couldn't see your feet. This went from very clear water, and within 4 days, we got so that you couldn't see your feet. Lasted about 2 weeks, and 4 days later, it was back to clear. There's only one sustaining theory of what caused that, but nonetheless, phosphorus was a big issue. It was not the cause, but it feeds it. So we really started to pay some attention to that. And I wanted to get into that. So if you go to the next slide, please. What we did. When we went on to the impaired list back in 1990, obviously people took action and a full watershed survey was done. We ended up coming up with a whole watershed management plan, as Gray is looking to do. And one of the recommendations out of that was that there would be a biannual meeting between the DEP, Cumberland County Soil and Water Conservation District, Windham, and Falmouth. And as I looked into it, when I got involved in 2018, none of those meetings had ever been held. So we went to both town managers in Windham and Falmouth, and we ended up setting up the Highland Lake Leadership Team, which is an official committee of both towns. And the town managers participated, town council members participated, as well as the Highland Lake Association, DEP, and Cumberland County. So as a result, as we got going on that, one of the things we did is we looked at the ordinance in both towns, and they were not the same. There were different protections on both sides of the lake. Each had some holes that we tried to address. Well, we did address. And to the point where I will argue that Highland Lake is the best protected lake in the state of Maine right now. So we really pushed it. We continued to develop, as Audrey was talking to you about some of the communication things. It's two parts to helping clear up phosphorus. One is educating people as what it is, how you can minimize it, and then the second part is having ordinance in place for the people who aren't willing to go ahead and make those changes. You need to have an ordinance to make sure that everybody is participating. At about that same time, one of the town councilors in Windham wanted to reinstate a committee in town called the Natural Resource Advisory Committee. And it's not unlike the Resiliency Committee in Gray. And I ended up signing up for that, and as soon as as some of you probably know, as soon as you sign up for something like that, they'll make you chair if you show any interest at all. So, I'm a Pisces, I'm interested in water, so most of my focus on this committee has been trying to deal with water issues. we were able to change a lot of the ordinance in Wyndham and Falmouth, as I suggested, but it only applied to Highland Lake. But wearing my hat as chair of the Natural Resource Advisory Committee, I need to make sure that the other lakes in town had similar protections. And so we looked at Little Sebago, and I got to know Pam, and we ended up talking to the Gray Town Council about, you really need to look at some of these things. There are good protections out there for developers who come in and want to put in a development. They're pretty solid, but there's nothing about individual homes. You know, yes, there are some shoreland rules of things you can do with expansion, et cetera, but if you've got an existing house and you're putting an addition on or making modifications, there's no restrictions on anything to do with phosphorus. So as we looked at that and said, well, geez, only the bottom part of the lake is protected. What about the rest of it? And the same thing in Forest Lake. It's split between Wyndham and Gray as well. So that's why we tried to implement as many of that the Highland Lake ordinance as we could to the rest of the lakes. Not all of them got moved over because the town wasn't ready to implement all of them on the other lakes. They were concerned about staffing. So anyway, as we've gone through and the town is the town of Gray has decided to put this resiliency committee together to try to bring similar kinds of protections to the rest of the lake. We got here, the team has been working great, and it comes down to three things. I think I would encourage all of you to take care of your own properties. As you learn more about the Lake Smart program and how phosphorus affects the lake, take care of your own properties first. Second, it's really important that the town councils in both Wyndham and Falmouth, and we need to improve the Wyndham ones as well, but both town councils and planning boards need to know that you care, either by writing to them or showing up at the meetings. And showing up is far more important. When they see a number of people in the audience, it makes a difference on the decisions that they're going to make. And then thirdly, get involved even more if you so choose. There's openings on the Highland Lake, on the Natural Resources Advisory Committee in Wyndham. One of the other members is here, and to give you a sense of how important it is, there are 5 volunteers on the Natural Resource Advisory Committee. 3 of them are from Highland Lake. So get on there. It's not that Highland Lake gets any favoritism, but you focus on things. You get to know the town staff. They get to know you. They get to understand the issues, and you're far more likely to have success if you have those kinds of relationships. So I encourage you to do that. And the same thing with the Resiliency Committee in Gray. They have openings. So seek out the town, participate. It will make a huge difference down the road. I wanted to show you the results. So what you're looking at the slide, and this is a slide that nobody can read, but the important thing is I want you to see this curve. This goes from this is our phosphorus readings from 1970s all the way up to now. And for a long time, as growth was developing around the lake, it just kept increasing. And you're going to get algae blooms if that keeps happening. The average house puts out 6 to 10 times the amount of phosphorus that an undeveloped lot does. So it's very significant. And you count the number of houses, I think you have around 1,300 shoreland dwellings around here. And it's not just the shoreland. They track phosphorus going into Lake Champlain from 40 miles away. So every feeder stream is contributing to this. But as we started really getting into it and taking heavy education, like it wasn't Lake Smart, but same concepts, and a lot of work for those who are in Wyndham, there's grants available every year, a watershed protection grant that you can apply for. The Natural Resource Advisory Committee listens to those and makes recommendations to the town council as to which ones should be funded. So if you've got a road association, you got problems, not maintenance issues, but if you got a problem that needs to be fixed, anyone in Wyndham should be coming to the Natural Resource Advisory Committee. But we made a difference. All of that work finally paid off, and you can see now that our phosphorus levels are about where they were back in the 1990s. We're not done. This fight never stops, ever. Next slide, please. And this looks pretty, this graph is our Secchi disk readings, our water clarity. And you can see, here's where our blooms were that I had mentioned earlier in 2014, 2017. But the fact that the phosphorus and the Secchi disk readings, the water clarity, are almost mirror images of each other validates that we really have made a difference. So I encourage you to really endorse some of both the Lake Smart program and the ordinance, and you'll preserve this lake for years to come. Thank you. Now I'm done.
Thank you. All right. Hey, everybody. As Lane said, I'm Andy Barhyde from the Resiliency Committee, but I'm also a resident near the lake. I'm not on it, but I am near it, so this is also important to me. And I just want to make sure that you all know that I'm not just here from the town. Like, this is also important for me. I access the lake, I recreate there thanks to the graciousness of some neighbors. So, really important to me to make sure that we're protecting our watersheds here in Gray. And the ordinance is the way that the town can enforce that. So the goals of this, and I realize now that this might be a little too small to actually see, but the goal is to prevent that runoff that Dennis was talking about from not just lakeside homes, but also people, across the street or up a hill or things like that. But we're also trying not to make it too onerous on you. There are some simple things that we can all do to better protect our watersheds. And we are writing this ordinance to not be a burden, but to ensure that we are protecting with a level of rigor that we need to make our graphs in Little Sebago or other water bodies in Gray exhibit the same trend as Highland Lake. So that goes to bringing down our phosphorus levels especially. So the goal of this, again, is to prevent pollutants, prevent phosphorus, which is, included in things like fertilizer that you put down on your grass. Everybody wants a nice lawn, everybody wants beautiful flowers, but if you don't have some of the protections in place, that can end up in our lake body. And especially the other part is during construction of new structures that add surfaces that water cannot penetrate. So that can be a compacted gravel driveway. That is something that is not permeable by water. So it will shed water and that will run off into a water body. So the protection ordinance here, again, is trying to make sure the base of it is we are going to ask people in Gray if they are doing a project of a certain size, like an addition or a large driveway or adding a garage or cutting trees and taking out the stumps to increase the size of your lawn or to clear for something else. All of those things disturb the soil, which is in place to capture these pollutants potentially. So any of those activities would require compliance with the new ordinance. But the way to prevent that is to show up with a plan, which we will also provide examples for, and handouts on how to prevent this runoff. There are simple things that, like during construction, you can put up a silt fence like I've shown here. It's very cheap. I use them all the time in my professional life. They don't cost a ton. You can buy them at Home Depot for 25 bucks, and it will actually make a noticeable difference to prevent runoff into the lake. And you can take them out when you're done once the project is what we call stabilized, which means if you're growing a new lawn, the grass needs to be established. That's all. Once it's established, you can take it out and it goes away. And you're done, and the ordinance is fulfilled. You can also go a little further and do something like a rain garden, which will not only prevent the pollutants from getting in the lake, but also look nice and be effective. So we're not trying to be overly restrictive, and we're especially not trying to make it harder to do things on your property. We are just, like Dennis said, asking you to take an active step in monitoring the quality of our lake while also improving your property. I realize I didn't talk about the ordinance, like the actual language. That's for the workshop. And it's also very dense and boring. And if you don't want to talk about it, I won't make you. But if you do, please come and join us at the workshop, because that is something that we have collaborated with Lane and Pam and Dennis and all sorts of folks about how to match the level of protection that the other side of the lake, the Wyndham side of the lake, is getting. So we're just trying to make sure that the whole lake gets the same protection level. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, but that's my spiel. Yeah, so the question is, have we thought about regulating fertilizer use and type around the lake? And have we ventured further into that, down that path? The Resiliency Committee is advisory, so we don't necessarily make, suggestions on a particular brand. What we're trying to get at is the target of reducing or eliminating phosphorus. So the ask about, specifics, I think that comes down to if the Lake Association has anything they want to do, or, as a homeowner, if you want to take an active step and choose the lower content. There are versions out there, but it's not something that we're looking to specify. We can make recommendations, and that will probably be in the handouts and pamphlets about taking care of your lawn and things like that that we're going to do as part of this ordinance outreach work. So we will add that to the list of things to get into the brochures, suggestions, but not necessarily restrictions. So it's about, personal stewardship as well. Like we can only do so much with an ordinance that only triggers when you're building something or doing, significantly changing a landscape. Day-to-day maintenance, the town probably shouldn't be regulating your day-to-day life, I would think.
Is that working in a satisfactory manner? To you as preservation of the lake, do you think the education program is making enough progress?
This is part of our education outreach, so results are yet to be seen. I think we're working on it. We're doing the best we can. We're getting the message out there. So this is starting that process. Talk to me in a year and I'll come back and say, hopefully, yes. Hopefully we're doing enough. We're trying the best we can as a community of volunteers.
Well, let me, if you don't mind, because we're running a little over, so I want to keep moving. But great questions, and I think again, this is all part of outreach. Every action that you take, and when you talk to your neighbors about doing the right things at the lakefront, that helps us out. So, the group is going to be available after the meeting, and I encourage you to come up and ask more questions and engage with us. Okay, so we'll leave this up for a moment, but I'm going to pass on the mic back to Gary. Thank you. Thank you.
Lane.
Thank you, Lane, Audrey, Dennis, and Andy. The next remaining presentations are all by board members, and we're trying to keep each one of those under 5 minutes. If you see a yellow piece of paper being held up. That means we're 4 minutes into it. If you see the red, that means we need to wrap it up very, very quickly. I would ask that the Secretary's report and the Treasurer's report are exempted from that, though, please. Next is my report as the President, and I'd like to begin by thanking the other officers and the board members for assisting me through my first year as President. It's been truly an honor and a pleasure. There aren't enough words to thank all of you for everything you do. I would like to specifically recognize and thank the Executive Committee that I work very closely with, sometimes on a daily basis. There's Jim, our Vice President and Treasurer, who puts in a tremendous amount of time. Cheryl, our Secretary, who also chaired the Centennial Committee and was responsible with her committee for many exciting events last year. And Pam, our past president, who fortunately has remained very, very active and is a wealth of knowledge regarding the association and our programs. And after serving in this capacity for 17 years, Pam is a tough act to follow. So last year was the Little Sebago Lakes Association's 100-year anniversary. It was an exciting one with several celebration events. The largest of those events was the golf outing, for which we just recently had the second annual one. Deborah Lavoie, back at the registration table, did an amazing job organizing those, and Deborah will be talking about that and Rally Up a little bit later on. Thank you, Deborah. And I don't want to steal too much thunder from the remaining presentations, but the most notable fundraiser last year was the $100,000 for 100-year campaign, which began in 2023 and exceeded the goal of raising $100,000 for the endowment fund. Thank you to all that donated so generously to that campaign. On September 6th, which was the actual 100th anniversary of the first meeting of the board of the Little Sebago Lake Association, the board met at Aim High Lodge, which was the site of the first meeting, and we held a brainstorming session. This meeting was Pam's idea, and it was an excellent one. The items discussed at that meeting, in conjunction with the results of the 2024 survey that you, our members, participated in, should help guide the association for the stewardship of Little Sebago Lake through the next 100 years. Another noteworthy event of 2024 was a dinner gathering held right here last December to recognize and thank our volunteers, employees, and their spouses. We had approximately 60 attendees, and it was a great opportunity to meet each other. Like the golf outing, this is now slated to be an annual event. We're fortunate to have very talented, dedicated volunteers and employees. All of them, because of their talents and skills, could have much more lucrative opportunities elsewhere. And I can't thank those volunteers and employees enough. This concludes my report. Thank you. And next is our Secretary's report. Cheryl.
Maybe this can stay right there.
They can.
Do this. You can hear me. Good morning, everybody. I'm Cheryl Alterman. I'm the secretary, and we are required to give you a to go over the minutes from last year's meeting. So I'm just going to go over a brief summary. The entire minutes are on our website. Okay. Last year, Pam Wilkinson called the meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. The agenda will be a bit different this year, so we can talk about LSLA Centennial, Lake History, and water quality efforts. Jim McBride gave our treasurer's report and was happy to report that in our centennial year, we are in really fine financial health thanks to the generosity of our membership. Income for 2023 was $222,000, which was $36,000 over budget, largely due to the 100 for 100 Centennial Endowment Campaign. We have a balanced budget for this year, but are already showing a surplus. Our guest speaker was Sergeant Kyle Hladek, who is a State of Maine game warden. He thought that lake usage seemed to be a bit slower so far this summer. June was very rainy. New this year, as of January 1st, 2024, boating education certificates are required for watercraft users born after 1999. There's also a new law regarding wake boat usage. While wake surfing, boats must operate 300 feet from shore. Courtesy is a large part of boating, and hopefully these new laws will lead to more and more people being educated in self-boating practices. Pam gave her president's message. Pam served as LSLA president from 1992 to 1994, and again since 2009 for a total of 17 years. While she is stepping down as president, she is not stepping away and will stay on the board. A succession plan is in place. The incoming president will serve for 2 years, after which the vice president will become president. Gary Kenny will be the new LSLA president, and Jim McBride will be vice president and treasurer. Pam introduced incoming President Gary Kenny to say a few words. And at this point of the meeting, we kind of hijacked the meeting and surprised Pam. Rod Bernier got up to speak on behalf of the board about Pam and all that she has done for Little Sebago. Pam has been a driving force to LSLA and brings a tremendous amount of dedication to all that she has done. Because of Pam, other lake associations want to be like us because we do things that nobody else does, like the success of our milfoil program. Rod also announced that Pam got a beautiful plaque from Brenda LaFleur from Lakeside Custom Creations from the board, and Rod also announced that the Little Sebago Lake Scholarship Fund will now be called the Pam Wilkinson Little Sebago Lake Scholarship Fund in Pam's honor. Barbara Sawhill gave the historical committee report. The committee is thrilled to share that the book, all attendees last year received a copy of the book, Little Sebago Through the Years. This book is not a definitive history of the lake, but will hopefully encourage others to find their historical connection to the lake, as well as provide information to local historical societies. Jan Slack provided the water quality report and thanked members of her committee, and they also partner with St. Joseph's College. Around the 4th of May, there was a large algae overgrowth in the lake. The algae was brown, murky, and smelled. We were lucky it only lasted for about 8 days, and the lake rebounded quickly. We need to understand what's good for the lake and what's not good for the lake. When there's too much phosphorus in the lake, it results in more algae and milfoil growth. You can make your property more lake-friendly by participating in our Lake Smart program. As we celebrate our 100th anniversary, protecting the lake today will ensure that future generations will have clean water too. Lane Albert gave the Watershed presentation, and their job is to help protect the lake and surrounding watershed. Our town and businesses benefit from good quality lake water. The plan going forward is to address water quality issues within our watershed by reaching out to road associations and homeowners with programs like Lake Smart. The program accesses outdoor areas, driveways, parking areas. So if you would like to have your property evaluated, please contact Kevin Ronan. With our centennial celebration, it was kicked off by Deborah Lavoie's fabulous first annual golf tournament. And that kicked off our slate of centennial events. We had the Blessing of the Lake. We had Kiddos Lake and Loon Fun Day, a very special pirate parade thanks to Deb Jellerson, Little Sebago, so you think you know Little Sebago scavenger hunt, and of course a classic boat parade. So lots of fun centennial celebrations last summer. The Loon report. The Loon program was formalized in 2018. In the past 9 years, there have been 69 nests. 56 chicks have hatched, with 35 chicks surviving. Thank you to all the Loon Rangers for their dedication to our loons. Let's see, wrap up, and let's see. Deb Lavoie announced the Raffle winners, and to all those lucky people. And the meeting was adjourned at 11:15 a.m. Thank you.
Do that
Move to accept the minutes.
one. Okay.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of accepting the minutes? Any opposed? I will turn it over to Jim McBride for the treasurer's report and the presentation of this year's budget.
Thanks, Gary. This is so exciting. I finally get a chance to talk again. It's been a long time since last year, right? So before I get into the meat of my presentation, I'd like to see a show of hands. How many of you came today to hear the treasurer's report and learn about the finances? Wow, look at that. This is awesome. I'm still going to give up 45 seconds of my time if you want to stand up and stretch. We've been sitting here for over an hour at this point. 45 seconds. I'm going to start my timer. Please don't go anywhere. 45 seconds.
Dance things, right?
Stretch. We could do the YMCA. Oh, no. I don't think we can do that.
Oh, you didn't want to get yellow carded.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. Oh, okay.
All right, it's been about that amount of time, so I will go ahead and start while you take your seats. Thank you very much. So again, my name's Jim McBride. I'm the treasurer, have been for, gosh, I should know, maybe 15 years, something like that. And it's always a pleasure to be able to come and speak at the annual meeting, especially because I, once again, have good news to share. The finances of Little Sebago Lakes Association are in fine shape, and it's largely thanks to all of you and your generous support throughout the year. The numbers that I'm going to talk about briefly all show up in our annual report, which hopefully you got in the mail. If not, there are copies of it here. So on pages 12 and 13 are the treasurer's report and the details of the budget that we're going to ask you to approve as a formality. But as I said, the year was very good last year. I'm reporting now on the year, the calendar year ending December 31st, 2024. We had income of just about $238,000. We were over our budget in income by close to $9,000. The largest part of the variance was associated, as Gary mentioned earlier, with the great response that we had to the challenge of $100,000 for the endowment, which we did exceed over the course of the year. Plus, we raised $113,000 for that effort. So thank you again to those of you that made a gift. So our budget for income for this current year is actually $239,000. It reflects a slight decrease in donations. It reflects a bigger decrease, if you will, in the endowment giving, because we're not doing the challenge grant again, so we don't expect people to contribute quite as much. It does have a big difference associated with work that we did on the lower narrows to dredge out the narrows. So the budget includes $18,500 that we have already spent. We already took it out of our reserves, but to keep it front and center in front of the members, it's included in total income, and it's also included in total expense. So there's really an offset, but it was work that needed to be done, and you'll hear more details about that in just a minute or two. Expenses for last year were very much under control. We were below budget, almost $18,000 in expenses, so that's a good thing. Not going to focus too much on that right now. Our budget for expenses for this current year is $239,000. And again, the biggest increase is associated with the work that we did to improve the lower narrows, the dredging that we did, about $18,500 on that line. So otherwise, our budget is largely similar to last year, some ups and downs, but we have a balanced budget once again, so that's good news, and we anticipate being able to do hopefully a little bit better than that. So last year, 2024, we ended up with a surplus. We had a surplus of $26,000. This year, we're budgeting to break even, if you will, but hopefully we'll have a positive surplus at the end of this year. And the surplus goes to increase the assets that we have for the Lake Association. Our net worth at the end of last year was just over $600,000, $601,000, which again was increased by the surplus, as well as in gains from our invested funds at Maine Community Foundation. So just wrapping things up, I'd be happy to speak with anyone after if you have questions about specific details within our actual results or within our budget for this year. But once again, I just can't thank those of you who contribute regularly to support the work of the Lake Association. It's a pleasure for me to work with the board and to help manage your funds that you contribute to allow all this great work to be done. And if there's any very quick questions, I'd be happy to try to answer some right now before calling for a vote. If not, is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report on the budget? Steve Drew, second. All right. And would all those in favor indicate so? Any opposed? It looks like it passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Next, we have 5 members whose terms expire this year. Rod Bernier will provide a report from the nominating committee and take a vote on filling those 5 members' slots. Rod?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Great to see so many familiar faces. The board of directors is comprised of 15 directors. They all serve 3-year terms. And Sharon LeBlanc and myself are on a committee to try to recruit and maintain our board. This year, every year, there's 5 terms that expire. And stepping on the other mic. So those 5 members have all volunteered to stay on for another 3-year term. Those ones that with expiring terms are Lane Albert, Andy Mayo, Jim McBride, Kevin Murphy, and Barbara Sawhill. I would look for a motion to have them re-up for another 3 years, or any comments from the floor on any other candidates.
I nominate those members for another term.
All those in favor? All right, thank you, you all. No, I said that. Got you. Then we get 15.
Yeah.
Back to you, my friend.
Our next presentation is Deborah Lavoie to talk about fundraising. If you could use both mics, please.
Both of them?
Yeah.
I probably don't even need a mic. I'm kind of loud. Good morning, everybody. I'm Deborah Lavoie, and listening to Jim's presentation, I'm 3rd generation Little Sebago. My grandchildren are 5th. And I just think about coming up here every year and never understanding the work that went in behind dredging the narrows, the safety committee, turning the wheel on the dam. And you think about $18,000 just to dredge the narrows. But I'm sure we all appreciate how great they look this year, right? Big thanks to Tim and his crew for that. So fundraising, it's the job nobody else wants, but I'm happy to do. They can't hear me? Oh, the town of Gray, my apologies. So anyway, as you know, we do the spring annual appeal every year. You just got that in your newsletter. And if you haven't had a chance to respond, don't worry, we'll send you a reminder in August. And we also do at the end of the year, the endowment appeal. So those are two that have been around for a while. The two smaller ones that I'm going to speak about are what you've heard a few mentions of today, the golf tournament that did start as not a fundraiser, but just a centennial event. And we received so much positive feedback from so many people around the community that we decided to do it again this year. And this year we decided to try and make a little money on it. And I'm really pleased to announce we made over $10,000. So we're gonna do it again next year. So mark your calendars for June 22nd for the third annual LSLA Golf Classic. And just, you don't have to be a professional golfer. It's a scramble format. We welcome all levels of golfing. So we hope to see some new faces there again next year. And then the other smaller fundraiser is the Rally Up. It originally started in 2020 due to COVID, and it has closed. It closed at 10 a.m. And basically, it's a combination of some old standby LL Bean items that are still very popular. And we've had a tremendous response from our community, artisans and bakers, and we've had some stained glass donated this year. So your friends and neighbors have donated to this smaller fundraiser, and it's at around $5,000 right now. So stay till the end, because we're gonna draw the winners. And new this year is the 50-50. So somebody here today will leave with $500 in cash. Actually, I shouldn't say that. They don't have to be here to win. So I shouldn't say you're gonna leave here with it, but somebody will win $500 today. So so the fundraising, it's important. We appreciate your response. We feel like we're reaching everybody. If we're not reaching you, or if you have any suggestions or questions or comments about it, please reach out to me at littlesebagolake.com, and I'm always open for feedback and for improvements. Thanks very much. Make sure you put this on. Oh my God, I can't get it off. There you go.
Our next report is on the Safety Committee by Sharon LaMontagne. We need to use both.
Hello. Hello. Oh. So as the Safety Patrol program kind of evolves every single year, we tweak it, we change it, we figure out what it needs. And I just want to make sure everybody here is happy with it, what we're doing. And if you want to see me at the end of the meeting, I'd be happy to make any changes if we can. But the goal of the Safety Patrol program is twofold. One is to manage the Warden schedule. We already heard all about that today. And the other is the two safety boats we have, and we have a crew of drivers. And the purpose of it is to promote safety through education. The boat is out at the boat ramp every Saturday and Sunday morning to greet newcomers to the lake, make sure they have enough life jackets, make sure they know the boundaries, the rules. We pass out packets of information, one of which has the map. We produced a navigational guide, and we give that to everybody that comes through, and it shows the two places on our lake that are 500 feet from shore, so that the wake boats can stay in those areas. And I believe most of them actually do that. my crew is all here, and I'm going to have Steve saying, where are you, Steve? He's going to stand up and introduce the drivers that are here. Most of them are here, I think.
Good morning. So you're John Rainier.
They can't.
They give us a hearty wave. We have. Oh, I'm sorry.
Princess way.
When you see us out there, give us a hearty wave. We have life jackets and whistles for paddle boarders, kayakers, and canoeists that don't have them. We give them out free. We have the packets on board if you would like one. Come up alongside, say hi. We don't have ice cream. We'll be glad to talk to you all. Thank you.
Any specific questions? All right, that's the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. And if you would please stay up here, our next item is a tribute to Roger LeBlanc. I first met Roger in 2018 or 19 when my grandchildren, who were very young at the time, mistook the safety patrol boat for the good ship Gelato, and they waved frantically at the boat. Roger, suspecting that was the case, stopped into our beach anyway. We had a nice long conversation that I greatly enjoyed, and it was very clear that Roger had the dynamic personality fitting for that job. I only had the opportunity to personally interact with Roger a few times after that. However, I closely followed the restoration of his Sidewinder boat on Facebook. The testament that I'm about to read to you was drafted by Sharon LaMontagne on behalf of the board. It's titled, Remembering Roger LeBlanc. In 2016, the Safety Patrol program changed from volunteer drivers with Cumberland County deputies on board to paid employees. Roger was the first to apply for the position, and John Bernier was the second. Sharon, who was the director of the program, met with Roger and John. The three of them started brainstorming and developed the beginning of what has evolved and grown over the years. Roger was brand new to the lake, but not new to boating. He was very excited to be involved and immediately set to work outfitting the boats, making schedules, getting coupons for free ice cream and pizza to reward those who he ended up chatting with who were following the boating laws of the state of Maine. If they weren't obeying the laws, he gently advised what was needed to change. He gave up one side of his dock for us to park the boat on, and every Saturday and Sunday that first year, he and John would each take a 4-hour shift. The main objective of the program has stayed the same over the past decade. It is to promote the Lake Association, to educate our boaters on safe boating habits, and at the end of each day, he could be found cleaning the boat, filling it with gas, and getting it ready for its next shift. A year later, he helped develop a schedule for the Fish and Game Wardens to be on the lake. That first year, we had them here 7 times, and they were welcomed by all residents and boaters on the lake. Each year since then, we have increased the number of days that they are on the lake. In 2017, Roger declared that our slogan should be, "Safety is no accident," which was genius. There is no doubt that Roger has made our lake a safer lake, and for that, we will be forever grateful that we were a part of his life. Roger passed away a little over a year ago, and we will always miss his big smile and hand wave from the patrol boat, and be grateful for the passion and dedication that Roger had for Little Sebago. Many thanks was how he ended every correspondence, and we say many thanks to you, Roger. We have a plaque, a smaller one like this, that will be mounted on the helm of the first safety patrol boat. We have a copy of this plaque and the photo that Sharon has to be presented to Mary. And Mary, if you feel up to it, would you come up? Okay. Thank you. If we could have a moment of silence in memory of Roger. Thank you. We're going to go a little bit out of order on the agenda now. Betty Caton is slated for 3 presentations. We're going to consolidate them near the end of the meeting. So next is Rod Bernier to report on the dam, as well as reporting on the State of Maine buoy installation program.
Thank you. All right, I'll put that clip on this time.
Yeah. It's for the recording.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary. Dam Committee. In the survey that we all completed last year, the Dam Committee report was one of the things that they said was too long. So I'm going to try to cut that back a little bit. But first, I'd like to thank some of the folks that have really helped out with the committee. Justine Bedoin has been our Facebook person. I don't know if Justine's here. But she's really helped me out with that because I don't do that. We had a volunteer from Cheverus High School who fulfilled his community service commitment and has been a great help on the dam, Kingston Googans. Of course, thanks to Gary and his team of directors, as I throw my stuff around here. And thanks to all of you for all the support that we've gotten. Little Sebago Lake, the state calls it Little Sebago Lake, but our dam is dam number 127. That's who we are. When I talk to them, that's who they reference us as. Go to the next slide. You can see we're a pretty long lake, about 7 miles long, and that little dam is what we have to let water out of the lake. And it's a fairly small, we call the dam Hopkins Dam, of course. It's dedicated to Dave Hopkins, who was a longtime dam keeper. With the state, go to the next one, we are required to, every other year, to create a emergency dam plan, and that's possible to see. But what it does is it sets up, and our last one was done last year, a plan for what happens if our dam fails. And it sets the requirements for what we have to do for downstream notifications if we're going to let any water out. We can't impact downstream in negative ways if we can help it. So there are 11 residential structures that would get wiped out if our dam failed. And there are 7 points where there are bridges or roads with culverts that we have to monitor every time we open the dam. Usually it's not an issue. Collins Pond is the one that we have to 100% of the time make sure that they're open if we open, and let them know that we're gonna close if they close, because we directly impact them. They're the pond that's just 2 down from us. Mill Pond's the one we empty into. They don't have an operating dam, they have a dam, but they don't control it. But Collins does have a dam that they actually do. And Collins Pond has been great, but that is our restriction on how we can let water out of our lake, and we certainly can't let any water in. But we have to follow all these mandates. Let's go to the next one, Kev. So that's a great shot Bill Shelley did. Our dam is that little tiny thing. Go to the next one. And that is the Mill Pond side of our dam. We don't usually see that because that's on the other side. And on our side, you hit the next one, Kev. That's our little sluiceway. So our dam is, really old, 135 years old. It's an earthen dam with those blocks on the backside. And we have a sluiceway that's 11 feet wide that we can let water out from our 7-mile-long lake. So when we open that up, it takes time for the lake to come down. It's not like a bathtub where you pull the plug and watch everything circle out. It takes time. And it doesn't take that much time to fill up, as we've seen. Next one, I think, scoots out a little bit. That's a little bigger view, and you can see the riprap on the right side of the dam there. But our earthen dam is pretty significant. It goes a long way. Next one. So, last fall, back in the early 80s, some folks that were lakefront residents petitioned the state to have the state control our lake instead of us. So now the state controls it. They tell us what we can do and can't. We are mandated on October 15th to open our dam up for our winter drawdown. We did that. We reached our lowest level on March 8th this year, which is a little bit later than usual, but it continued to drop down to almost 2 feet below our summer level. We closed on our mandated date of April 15th, and at that time we were 16 inches below our summer level. Our goal each year is to get to summer level by Memorial Day. We achieved that much quicker this year. There was a tremendous amount of rain. We were at summer level on May 9th, and by May 11th we were 5 inches high. And we opened up, and it kept, even though we were open, it stayed high until May 28th, where we were still an inch high, and we finally were able to close on June 2nd when we were back down to our summer mandated level. Another storm came, we opened up again, we were 5.5 inches high, and we opened, and then by June 14th we were back down. Today we're about an inch high, which is fine. We're still closed, and by closed we're mandated to keep a certain flow so that the downstream brooks and streams don't dry up. So we have a minimal flow that we have to let through, that we consider ourselves closed at that point, but we're not really. Our lake is the level is Mother Nature. So if we get an inch of rain and the surrounding area is already saturated with water, the lake comes up 3 inches. It comes up fast. We get a couple inches of rain, we're up 6 inches. When we have the gate open, we can go down about an inch a day, unless it's still raining, and then a lot of times that stays neutral even though we're open. And so that was our issue this year. We just couldn't catch up. The forecasting wasn't always great. What we try to do is open in advance of storms if we can. The problem with that is if we let too much water out, we can't let it back in. That's a real issue. We also have evaporation. On a long, hot, sunny day, we can lose an inch of water from evaporation. So it's kind of a real tightrope that we walk to figure out how we open, when we open, and why we open. And also downstream, we have to work with them. The rain that we get, they were also getting. So they were inundated also, and they're up. And even though they're open, they're not down to a level where they can take any more water from us. And we, of course, don't want to wash out any roads or bridges or anything like that. So we have to work with all that. And we do pretty well with our downstream friends. But it's not easy for us to be high. We're getting more erosion, more issues with the lake. The higher we are, the more likely we are to get bad things happen to our shorelines. So that is an issue. This last year, we had our supposed to be 6-year dam inspection by the state. It was 7.5 years since our last inspection, because the state is just inundated with a lot of dams and not many people do the inspections. So this year, they contracted with a company, Kleinschmidt Associates, and they had 2 engineers and an engineer from the state come November 22nd. They met Gary and I at the dam. And they spent a couple hours there checking everything out. They walked the whole length of the dam. They looked at the sluiceway that we've modified with a new gate. They looked at all of our work that we've done. They were generally very pleased. I'm going to read, they gave us an official report. I'm going to read the conclusions, so I don't tell you anything that they didn't really say. They said overall Little Sebago Lake Dam was in fair condition. It's an old earthen dam. It's not one of these big fancy, concrete dams like Highland Lakes. But it does everything it's supposed to do. It holds the water back. It's got a few leaks, but we do our best to mitigate those whenever we can. They said no major observations were made that were cause for any immediate concern. The recommendations given in their previous inspection report have been addressed, trees have been removed, and the embankment, crest, and stonework repairs have been completed on the downstream stone wall. They want to continue to maintain vegetation on the embankment slope to ensure that failure modes are prevented, and a toe inspection would be useful to ensure that a solid bedrock foundation exists beneath the dam. Based on the visual hazard assessment indicating potential damages to infrastructure in the environmental downstream, it's unlikely to risk human life at this time, but the current hazard classification is significant because of the risk to human life if our dam fails. So what are they looking for us to do on our dam? They want us to look in the next 5 years to look at the sinkholes that are on the top. It's an earthen embankment. There are some spots where we've had a little bit of a drop, and we're going to try to fill those in. But you have to be careful with that. We don't want to disturb the soil anymore. There's some large tree stumps from the trees that we cut down. They want us to try to remove those without displacing any riprap. And they want us to look at the toe of the dam, which is the dam on the Mill Pond side. When they came, it was November. Dam was open, Mill Pond was high. So where we had seen that large wall on the backside, the water was higher on that wall. So they couldn't see the bottom of it. And they want us at low level to look at that toe within the next 5 years, the bottom of that, to make sure there isn't anything they don't suspect that there is, but they want us to look at that and make sure that it's all good at the bottom. There's no washout underneath the toe of the dam. And then they said for considerations, continue to fill cracks in the masonry abutments. They suggested we use Silkaflex-1A joint sealant, which is a wonderful thing. And look at the depressions.
I didn't do it.
Any darn questions on the dam? No.
What's the board's liability should the dam fail?
It's a great question. The question is, what is our liability? So it's the association owns the dam. So it's not just the boards, it's all of us. As long, Maine has Good Samaritan laws. As long as we're doing our due diligence to maintain and operate the dam as mandated by the state, we have no liability. So that doesn't preclude us from people doing lawsuits or whatever, which we would have to work with, but we have no liability if that dam fails, as long as we have done everything that we can to maintain it.
And there's your emergency plan, there's a warning system.
The question is there a warning system for our emergency plan? And there is. It's a reverse 911. We work with, I meet every year with Cumberland County Emergency Management and the Maine Emergency Management Agency, local fire and police. And we meet to talk about how we notify downstream. We have 3 different codes that we use to notify, so that it can't be just anybody calling in to say that the dam's failing. But we have 3 different levels of failure to notify downstream folks. And it's a reverse 911 where we contact Cumberland County Emergency Management and they contact all downstream. On the other side of the lake, there's no contact because we're not in danger, but everyone downstream gets notified. Any other questions? Go ahead.
I assume you're all covered by D&O insurance?
Yeah, the question is, do we have director's insurance? And we do. Liability insurance for all that neat stuff that could happen. Any other questions? No more darn damn questions. Well, thank you all for all that. I'm going to jump to a little thing on our buoys. Earlier there was some comments about buoys. Do we have that one, Kev?
How much do you have?
There's only a couple slides, I think. I can speak to it if you can't find it. Yeah. Our buoys, for the last 10 years, or 15 years, geez, it's been 15 years, have been maintained and installed by the state. We used to do our own 17 buoys. In 2010, the state of Maine took over the program, and they put in 72 markers out on our lake, and they've added 3 since then. There is a process for that, but they do not add any additional buoys lightly. The rules are anything that's within 200 feet of the shoreline, they're not going to mark, unless it's in a highly navigated zone where the wardens have said this is a place where we have to do a safety issue. So if you have a gap that is less than 200 feet between an island or wherever, it won't. They're not going to put a marker there. They also don't put, slow wake and anything that's more than 400 feet. So the range of when they put those slow buoys, slow no wake, is 200 to 400 feet. They also do hazard buoys. We have some of those on the lake. And those are only if it's more than 200 feet from shore, and it has to be 4 feet, less than 4 feet from our normal water level. So they look at those, and they make determinations of whether or not that's a safety hazard or not. Is there a question in the back? Or just stretching? I saw her hand go up. She's stretching. All right, moving on. Any questions on the buoy program? All right, thank you all. If anything that comes up on buoys, there's a number on the buoy. You can actually call that, or you can contact the association, and we'll look at them. There was some question about where they get put. They use GPS to place those. They have a 300-pound weight for each one, and they have a long chain. So as the water level changes, there's a circle of space that they can move those buoys between. So it's not an exact GPS where it sits. It's an exact GPS where the anchor sits, and depending on how long that chain is, it can move quite a bit around. So They're not always at the same spot, but the state assures me that they are GPS marked. Maybe the Earth's moving on some of those, but so I don't know if they're all there, really. All right, thank you all.
Thank you, Rod. Our next presentation is by Kevin Ronan of the Watershed Committee to talk about the Lake Smart program. Kevin, if you could click that on.
Okay.
That's for the recording.
Yep. What do you think? Go.
Just real quick while Kevin's
Here, can you put that mic up
we
on
did
me?
put out Lake Smart materials on the table. We don't have 100 copies. So please share them,
Very
take
good.
them, make sure you share them. Okay?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kevin Ronan, and I'm one of the volunteers for the Maine Lake Smart program. I also have, and I'm joined by BJ Warner and Lane Albert as Lake Smart evaluators. It was 2 years ago in the spring that I went to Pam, and I said I'm interested in getting more involved with our lake. And we banged around a few ideas, and at that time, we did not have a Lake Smart program in our Little Sebago Lake. So I went off gallivanting on my merry way and learned what the requirements were, what the training was, and began that process. I was then soon joined by BJ and by Lane a little later to round out the team. Presently, 2 years after starting, that was June of 2023, we've now conducted 27 Lake Smart evaluations, which is a great number. The Lake Smart program, just so you know, those of you not familiar with it, it's free, it's voluntary, non-regulatory, and it's confidential. You're under no obligation to make any of the changes that the evaluators have recommended. But in many cases, we've learned that the Lake Smart evaluation report that the homeowner gets is used to help homeowners make changes to their property to help reduce erosion and help reduce phosphorus going into the lake. We have right now, we just had an evaluation done a couple of days ago, but our team is available now for those of you who would be interested in it. As Lane indicated off to my right are properties, pieces of information. This brochure is available. We also have some of our business cards if you want to get in touch with us for that manner. Do you have any questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm going to be here for a while after finishing the meeting, and I'm available to talk to you. Or if you'd like to come over and sign up for an evaluation, I do have a sign-up sheet with me. Thank you. Have a good morning. Get me out of here.
Thank you, Kevin. Our next committee report is by Barbara Sawhill to talk about the islands.
Oh, we got two of these now. Okay. Are there any islanders here? Yay! My people. Okay, hold on. All righty. Hello. So many times we have been asked, what is life like on an island? I own Crescent Island, which is the little island directly to, I guess, the north of Horse Island, the bigger island, the largest island on the lake. Life on the island. Number one, we hear everything. Sound travels over water in a remarkable rate, and oh boy, I have heard everything. Be it what's going on your pontoon boat to the party you're having over in Mumford's Cove, we hear everything. The other way to describe life on an island, at least on my island, is something my mother was fond of saying, which is, life on an island, it's just like home, only harder. And that is very true. We have two issues that are facing islanders right now, and one of them is erosion, and the other is trespassing. In terms of erosion, think of it this way. Many of the structures on the islands are over 100 years old. I am second generation. My children will be third generation on our island. Islands around us are coming up on their fourth generation. And we're working very hard to maintain those structures because we love them and they represent a great deal of history to us. Meanwhile, underneath us, there's a great deal of erosion or undercutting that is happening. Much of that is caused by lake levels, but even more of it is caused by boat traffic. So we hold that 200 feet, 300 feet rule to heart. There's nothing quite like sitting on your dock in dead calm and then suddenly seeing a tsunami come towards you from a wake boat that's way the heck out over there. The islands are fragile little ecosystems, and we encourage people, when you go by them, to please wave, say hi, but go slowly, go headway speed. Think about enjoying the islands from afar and looking at them rather than racing through the channel. And I know, looking out over this crowd, this is probably not the group of people that's going to be going 3 billion miles an hour through the channel in a jet ski or a wake boat, screaming, drinking beer, whatever. Your kids maybe, your renters maybe, your grandchildren. If you know anyone who likes to go fast on the lake, please encourage them to use the wider areas and have a great time. But stay away from the shore and stay away from the islands as best you can. I want to put in a plug for the buffer plants that the Lake Association has available for you. My mother planted a blueberry bush that was available here one year from the Lake Association. It is possibly the only thing holding up one corner of my island right now. It is truly amazing. So those buffer plants are really important, and we are grateful for that resource. A simple solution to the erosion problem, well, we can't always fix climate, but have everybody just slow down. Enjoy the lake. It is, 7 miles long, Rod? Yeah, so going 3 million, I'm old. It doesn't make sense to me to go ripping through. But encourage everybody to slow down, enjoy, relax, and appreciate the beauty of the place that is around us. The second thing that's happening is trespassing. And in many cases, I think it's just people not knowing that all islands on the lake are private property. So that means, unless it's an emergency, you shouldn't be setting foot on an island. You definitely should not be relieving yourself or your pets on an island. And I'm seeing lots of that happening more and more. I, in fact, pulled up to my island the other day and had a young couple with their 2 dogs on my island because they just decided they'd play on the sandbar for a little while. Once people are informed of the rules, they back off and they're very kind and considerate. But the more you all can do to inform your guests, your friends, etc., that islands are private, there is a porta potty at the public landing that we also fund, that we would like for people to use, that would be awesome. Does anyone have any questions about the islands, or are there any other concerns that we are not raising right now? Just that, yeah. Yes?
Okay, I have one. Just listening to Dan talk about the buoys and rockers. How come there's no wake zone buoys around a lot of the islands and only a few of them?
I can speak. Okay, so the question was, with regard to buoys and the buoys that the state place out versus the buoys that might already be there, why aren't there more no-wake buoys around the islands? Rod, why are there no more? This is my ongoing challenge with him, Rod. Why aren't there more no-wake buoys? Some of us, myself included, have gone out and purchased no-wake buoys and put them in ourselves. I run the risk, of course, of being told by the state that that's illegal and them taking away my buoy, but I swear to God, that has cut down traffic incredibly. So I will continue to bug this man about more no-wake buoys around the islands because they actually do work, indeed. Other questions about islands, island life? I'll stick around after the meeting if anyone has any concerns. Thank you for appreciating them. My final plug is if you know a realtor who is listing land on the lake or near the lake, and you notice that they mention Little Sebago Lake and its natural beauty and several islands to explore, please write to that person. This is one of my favorite activities in the winter, is to write to realtors saying, excuse me, no, take out that to explore, to look at, but please don't come on our land. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barbara. And our next presentation is by Tim Greer on the Lower Narrows.
How do I get up there so fast?
Typing this on you.
Hook me up there?
There you go.
Okay. There's not a whole lot to say about the Narrows, so I'll be short. I know everybody's tired of being here. Anyway, it was a perfect year to finally get into the Narrows with an excavator. Rod was nice enough to take the water real low. We had plenty of room along the shoreline. We had no rain, we had no snow, lots of cold, so we could take excavators and a dump truck down there and work on the Narrows, which we did. We pulled out about 300 cubic yards of sand out of the Narrows and on the shoreline as well. We took that sand, we moved it down about 300 feet, north of the Narrows, and we put it on the homeowner's beach area and spread it. That's what our permit allows us to do. As I mentioned, sand in the Narrows, we pull the sand out of the Narrows until we hit the lake bottom. So when you go through the Narrows, in the center of the Narrows, you're about 4.5 feet deep. Go one side or the other, then because it's concave, it'll get more shallow. If you hit the lake bottom, that becomes excavating. And you have to have a special permit to excavate. Then you just go through the Corps of Engineers and do a whole process. One of the questions that comes up to me all the time is that if you're there already and you have an excavator, why don't you just dig all that up? God, I fought back doing that this year. I wanted to do it badly. I just really wanted to dig. I did. I wanted to get in there. But I said, no, we have a permit, so I got to back off. So we did. And believe it or not, come June, our permit expired. So I had to call the DEP and get another 2-year permit. I've been at this 20 years. Would you believe it? They told me we're going to send inspectors out to see what you've been doing. It's like, damn. So they sent one from Augusta and they sent another one in from Portland to inspect. So they came down and I walked the shoreline with these people. We went down to the Narrows with them and we answered all the questions. They want to know what we've done in the past, what we did when we were excavating, what we're going to do in the future. We covered all that. And then they wanted to walk down to see where we left the sand. So we went down to the homeowner's beach and we walked that beautiful, pristine sand. No lake bottom was in there. They gave us a 2-year permit until 2027. So we're in good shape. Damn. I was tempted. Anyway, just quickly, I just want to show you what we want to do in the future. We still want to get down to excavating. That's the quickest way to get that sand moved out of there. We want to move more of the sand out of the west side of the lake bed so we can expand the area where we're navigating through the Narrows. But as you come this way, all the way in to the south end in the Narrows, you'll notice that there's a big sandbar there, and it keeps growing. It's moving us over. So as you come south through the Narrows, you have to kind of veer off to the left because of that sandbar. They keep dropping sand there. What we're hoping to do, weather permitting, is to get down on that sandbar and pull that sand out of the passageway that's there so that we can come straight through those Narrows right into Hunger Bay without having to make that left-hand turn. But so much of it really, it depends on the weather, but we keep at it. Okay. Any questions? Thank you. I'll let you figure that out. Okay. Got it. Well.
Got it. We're going to go out of order again to consolidate Betty's reports. So the next report up is Arnie to report on the merchandise we sell. Want me to?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. So I am the board member that does the merchandise along with my wife, Tammy. And if you looked at the meeting report, I was a little over $4,000 under budget in sales last year. So Jim has kindly lowered my budget for this coming year by about $4,000. In the past, we have approached that $15,000 range, not always getting there. And last year we were just a little bit over 10,000. So we're looking to try to beat the $11,000 goal for this year. And I thank all of you that have already purchased merchandise today. We have a little area in our home that we dedicate to the merchandise, and people are welcome to come by anytime. You can reach us. As a matter of fact, if you look on the agenda, you'll see my personal email address. You're welcome to contact me through that. Also, if you go onto our website and inquire about merchandise, I'll get that email sent to me as well. We try to have an open house at least once a year. We'll be doing it again this year, probably around Labor Day. Chance to come in and get some goods and maybe even plan ahead for Christmas. We'll have a presence at the Gray Blueberry Festival Saturday, August 9th. We have a couple of volunteers that are going to staff that so that Tammy and I don't have to do it. They've done that the last few years, and we get, for the length of that particular event, which is just, during the day to the afternoon, we do pretty well with the sales there. So if you're going to be at the Gray Blueberry Festival, please seek us out there as well. I think that's about it for me. Just, again, thank you for all the support you've provided. Oh, Tammy's got something, yes.
I heard your wife said that we would probably be open around Veterans Day for your last opportunity before Christmas. That's what I heard.
Did anybody hear that?
So it would be the Sunday, the Monday, and then the Tuesday, Veterans Day. And it's whatever we have. We won't be able to order anything because we're snowbirds.
So the weekend of Veterans Day, we will be open as well. So, we're basically open every day, but that's your last chance before we go to Florida to get anything you might want for Christmas that we have in stock. All right, any questions? No? Again, thank you very much. Let me get this off. Thanks.
Thank you for the presentation, Arnie. And we can't thank Arnie and Tammy enough for the tremendous amount of time they put in on the merchandise, as well as giving up a portion of their home to market this merchandise. Thank you. Our next presentation is Kevin Murphy to talk about all things technical.
Oh boy, 2 mics.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. All right. I'm going to keep this really short because I know everybody here wants to get back to their camps to this beautiful day, Saturday. Another beautiful Saturday. Facebook. If you don't know, we do have a private group. Been up for several years now. We had to take it private a few years ago because Facebook, in their infinite wisdom, decided to let anybody in the world post on the group, which means we started getting all these T-shirt advertisements coming up that we had absolutely zero idea about. So anyways, it's real easy to join. You go there, say agree to the rules, why you're joining, and then boom, you're in. Got a lot of people in there. Unfortunately, a lot of people equals a lot of different opinions. Sometimes people get a little bit out there with the opinions. There's a way to report them. If you see something you don't like, you hit it, it comes to me, and then we can bounce it and bounce the person if they really need to be removed. We don't allow selling and renting ads or anything like that. We try to keep it simple, just group experiences and sharing, I don't know, advice. You know, we get a lot of people looking for help with different utilities or repairs around the camp, what have you. Great community feedback from a lot of people there. That's pretty much it. Website, I have absolutely nothing to report other than it's working. But on the other side of the news with the website, we are going to be looking to update it this year. Give it a little bit of a facelift, maybe move some stuff around, add some stuff, remove some stuff, the typical things. So hopefully next year this time we'll have a new site up and running, and that's about it. Last, the database. I don't know how many of you know this or not, but we do have a fundraising database that we use. It's online. We've been using it now for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. It seems to be very easy to use for us. And the primary purpose that we really want to have this in place is so that we know as many of the residents, current residents that are around the lake, just in case we have to do any notifications, because we do send out emails. We don't only send out spam, I hope. We do send out other things such as updates on what's going on around the lake, events and what have you. So we want to make sure that you know that that we have your information. So one thing in particular, make sure we have your emails. We want to make sure so we can get that current information out as fast as possible. That's about all I got. Any questions?
How many is your database right now?
Where's Cheryl? Oh, there she is. I don't know. How many? Yeah.
How many in our database?
Yeah.
A little over 1,200, I believe.
We are. Okay. So we got about 1,200 in there now. I don't know if there are 1,200 active current, the way the real estate market's been in the last couple of years. But we do try to push as much as possible to get the new residents out there. We send them a welcome package to let them know what's going on when we do find out about them so that they can get signed up and we can.
Does anybody have a good estimate about how many homeowners are on the lakefront? About 1,000?
Last I heard, it was about 1,300, 1,400. Yeah, about 1,300, 1,400. When you also include right-of-ways as well. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else? You just want to get back to camps, I know. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. The next report is on our water quality monitoring program by our second Kevin Kazerman.
Do we just hold that?
You sure can.
I wanted to begin by saying, as a volunteer board, it means a lot for you guys to show up on a Saturday. It's the best thank you we could have. And you should mention that to your neighbors that might not attend, but as you can see, there's a lot of work that goes on up here. And for us to know that you guys care enough to give up your Saturday, it's really important. And I want to thank you all for that. With water quality, there are a lot of people involved. There are volunteer boat drivers, there are samplers, there are Janet Slack, who, due to health concerns, could not make it today, is our leader, and she has brought the program enormous lengths. And we can't say enough about what Janet has done, but also the entire committee has done a lot. So we partner with St. Joseph's College, and one gentleman asked about phosphorus. The one thing about water quality is its chemistry. There are so many variables. So phosphorus is a big one, obviously. We started this year. The testing of it is not easy. We're actually taking soil samples, and we're actually also testing the incoming streams for phosphorus because those are the feeder sources for the phosphorus. But I ran into one of the milfoil divers yesterday, and a great variable for him is he knows if he has to clear his nose, decompressor, in his ears, he's not going to see milfoil. There's not enough, the depth is too deep for the milfoil. He loses the light. So with the water chemistry, we test every 2 weeks. We test temperature, dissolved oxygen, and clarity. And the variable of all of those makes up what can grow, both what we want, the good stuff, and also the bad stuff. So it's a huge balance. So the data that we take is really important. As Dennis showed on his chart, you need the data when you have the problem, and then you can go back to it. Right now, we're in good shape. This is a wonderful year because we have high water, which reduces the light, keeps the temperature cooler so we don't have the warmer temperatures. So in general, we're doing well. Big issues for us, the wakes. We are bringing, again, the wakes. Where is 200 feet? Does anyone know? Outside, when you leave today, I've set up an example. If you look past the white pickup, there is a cone with a poster on it. From that cone, 200 feet is all the way to the edge of the road. That's the no wake zone. And some people think no wake means go slow. We see so many people just going medium, and they are causing I'd rather have them full speed than going medium. They have to be no wake with no bow lift. If your bow is lifted, you're going slow, you're pounding our shoreline, and you're grabbing the phosphorus from the shore. 300 feet is a football field. I have a marker. It's across the street in the middle of that parking lot. If you're wakeboarding and you are closer than from down the hill to across that parking lot, you're in violation regardless of the depth of the water. Those two things, if we could just deal with it. And then the last is obviously fertilizer. People are going to fertilize. Every time you buy fertilizer, there are 3 numbers. Nitrogen, phosphorus, and they're listed in this order, and potassium. The middle number is the middle finger to the lake. It needs to be a 0. Not that nitrogen doesn't hurt and potassium, but phosphorus is the killer because algae loves to breed on it. So we do have data. We have paid interns every 2 weeks. St. Joseph's does all our testing. The cost of your donations goes a lot into water quality. We have to have the meters. We own a meter. We have to have it repaired. It has to be certified every year. The testing, we pay for the interns, but they do the testing at the college. And it's a wonderful, wonderful partnership. That's what I have in basics on water quality. I will be here after if you want specifics on readings, etc. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Next are the consolidated reports by Betty Caton. She'll be talking about communications and membership, Loon monitoring, and the boat ramp courtesy inspection program.
All right.
You want that pinned on?
There we go. All right, can you hear me? You've all been waiting. Here I am. So I'm not sure I'm going to go in that order because that's not how I've done my notes, but let's start by talking about our loons. Everybody loves our loons, right? So this past year, 2024, we've just completed our 7th year of monitoring our loons with a community scientist program. So we have loon rangers. We work with Lee Addicks out of Loon Conservation Associates. He is provides the guidance, and we work under his license to do the work that we do. And some of the numbers that Lee gave us at the end of last year, 70% of our banded loons, so our adult loons that are banded, return to our lake. So we can monitor them. And that's what the Loon Ranger program is really all about, is monitoring, seeing what's going on with our loons. One of our loons that we actually know has relocated to Lake Winnipesaukee. Guess he went because of, no taxes over there, right? We also know that the loon that we refer to as our Grande Dame, she is at least 32 years old, and she is back. So the last 2 years, she has not nested or had a mating, so we think she's probably beyond her reproductive years, but she is still back. We also know that one of our banded chicks was banded in 2020, has returned. So he was born on Treasure Island. We know it's a he, and he's back for, I believe he's been back for 3 years now. So he has been seen this year. So based on our numbers, so Lee has all these numbers that he puts together and comes up with percentages. How many chicks do we have? How many chicks survive? And all of those things. Last year in 2024, we were above average for our chicks survival. But when he looks across the 7 years, we're well below average. So he looks at that number as, you know, how is our loon population sustaining on our lake? So we're still down a little. On the other hand, he also talks about we may be saturated because we're seeing a lot of territorial disputes in the last couple of years and some pretty significant battles. And so we are observing those and we are recording those, and he takes all that data, he shares it with the state, he shares it with Maine Audubon, and there's loon groups all over the country, and he shares it with them. Maine Audubon and the state of Maine Department of Inland and Fisheries and Wildlife, Little Sebago has the most consistent data for the longest period of time. So they're all looking at us. Okay. So far this year, we've had 6 loon chicks hatch, 2 of whom are still surviving. So kind of hard to watch. Some just disappear overnight. We don't know, turtles or whatever. One of our loon rangers unfortunately got to watch a battle. It was a territorial dispute where another male came in and split up the parents and then killed the chick, and the eagle swooped down and took off with the chick. So, but that's nature. That's what we're out there observing and recording. So we have also been working with Maine Audubon. So the Loon Raffle program, we've put out the artificial nests. We made the Loon Ranger group made the determination that we were going to cut that back a bit based on some good recommendations out of the Loon Preservation Committee, which works out of New Hampshire. And so we're down to 1 of those artificial nests that we're using. And unfortunately, we put it out, but the loons didn't decide to use it. So that. Kevin was talking about the lake's Facebook page. The Loon Rangers have their Facebook page that's associated with that, and it's called the Little Sebago Lake Loon Rangers. So if you're on Facebook, you want to look at that page, and that's where we put all of our information as we see them. Things that we're watching for this year with Biodiversity Research Institute is avian flu. So if we get to do some banding of chicks, they will be testing for that. So they know, the state of Maine knows it's in the geese population, which may be why we don't have quite as few little geese families around this year, but we're not sure. So, and then the other thing I work with is the Maine Audubon loon count, which is next weekend, 7 to 7:30. We'll have counters out on the lake. And last year we counted 27 adults and 2 chicks. Now again, our count is just what do we see between 7 and 7:30 in the morning. And all that data goes in with the rest of the state. In the state of Maine, really the southern half of the state, they counted last year 3,146 adult loons and 420 chicks. So the state on a whole has a pretty healthy population. So. Any questions on loons?
If you see a loon skirmish, what should you do?
So the question is, if you see a loon skirmish, what should you do? Sit and watch. Okay. So. And if, over on the tables there are some flyers that show a list of the Loon Rangers. And one of our Loon Rangers has volunteered to put her phone number on there. So if you pick that up, she will be our dispatch. So if something's going on, we will send people out to observe and record. So, all right. So the other thing I'm up here to talk to you about is the membership and communications committee. So what we do is take care of getting the word out to all of you about what's going on in the world. So one of the things that you may or may not have noticed is we're doing emails this year. So we went to an email newsletter. We're only going to print once a year now, and it will be the spring newsletter. And then, so what we want all of you to do is make sure we have your most up-to-date email address. It comes out on a regular basis. We started to look at, we were going to do it on a monthly basis. And it's really to keep people informed of what's going on in the lake all year round, not just our summertime fun. So what happens with the ice and what happens, during the winter. So make sure your information in that database that Kevin talked about is up to date, and you'll get that. So monthly was a little bit too much, but maybe every 6 weeks or so you'll see something come out all year round. So that was one of our biggest changes this year. The other thing that a couple of the people that are on the membership committee are working with Kevin to refresh that website to see how that's going to look. Questions? Everybody got their spring newsletter? A little later than what we wanted out there, but next year we'll do better. Okay, so the third thing is our courtesy boat inspections, which happens at the boat launch. We have a grant from the DEP, and we work with the Lake Environmental Associates. And what we do is look at all the boats that go in and all the boats that come out, and looking for plants. We would grab any plant, not necessarily just milfoil, but we make sure we want to make sure milfoil isn't going out of our lake on a boat. So this past year, and working at the end of the year, we look at the data, and we're working with the LEA, or the Lake Environmental Associates, and the DEP. We kind of had to step back and take a look at the data. So for the last 2 years, we have not had any plants come off a boat or a trailer of boats coming out of our lake. So we think that's a good thing, but we also report that we took out a little more than 3 tons of milfoil out of the lake. So that was enough for them to step back and take a look. And so then we went digging down into the data. And what also got reported is that we had boats, when you come into a boat launch with an inspector, they ask a lot of questions about your registration and all of that. But one of the questions they ask is, where was your boat the last time? So we had reports of boats entering another boat launch that had milfoil on them. And so when the question got asked, where'd your boat come from? It came from Little Sebago. And then we look at the dates that boat came out of Little Sebago, and it was a date that we had inspectors on duty. So that caused us to step back and say, all right, we got to do a little refresh here, look at our program. So we looked at our training program and what the training requirements were, and we also looked at our job description and what the job description was. And so we went back out to our inspectors that we had, and we said, we're going to have to retrain, and we're going to put some other requirements in, which were some physical requirements as well. One of our inspectors chose to come back and reapply for the job, and another one of our inspectors chose not to. So we have one returning inspector, and then we also went out and sent the job description and the job over to St. Joe's, because we have water quality students over there that volunteer on our water quality team. So we have one of those students has come back, and he's also an inspector this year. So, and that's our report on CBI. Yep. Questions? Yep.
Boat inspections, I'm not familiar enough with wake boats, but I know they have ballast tanks.
Right.
How do we handle a boat leaving our lake that has been wakeboarding?
So my understanding, and I have never even been on a wake boat, but my understanding, yep. Oh, so the question is, what do we do about the wake boats and the ballast tanks that they have? What I've been told by wake boat drivers is generally once they're done wakeboating, they blow those tanks so they're not carrying that weight, which gives them better gas mileage. But our inspectors will also tell anybody coming out of the lake about Maine's new clean, drain, and dry rule. So they are supposed to drain before they leave the launch. So.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? All right, back to you.
Thank you very much, Betty. And we'll conclude our presentations with Pam's regarding the invasive species remediation program.
I'm going to ask if anybody has a pink cooler beside them. It has been reported that somebody has left a pink Yeti cooler. So if you do have it, please bring it to the side.
There it is.
That's it, thank you. We'll make the connection later, thank you. Okay. I know that a lot of times we get a lot of accolades, but I'm going to ask you to, instead of stretch, I'd like you to just grab your arms like this, hug yourself, and we want to thank you for all that you have done for us. Okay. We cannot do, or we could not do over the past 20 years, milfoil removal as well as we're doing without your support. It has been because of your generosity that we can continue to hire people that can come back. And instead of having to retrain an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old on driving the boat, captaining the boat, or being the crew, or being the diver, we have a crew of people that return every year. So that one step of training is gone. And we have a crew that we just, I can't say enough about. We have a new diver who everybody wants to scoff up, but because we pay more money, he is with us, okay? And he's doing really, really well. And that's what works, is a little bit more money, and they come to us to be able to work. So I want to thank you for that, taking away that level of anxiety every year trying to find enough crew people to work. Our divers know the bottom of the lake like you know the back of your hand. They've been around, they go every curve, every slope, and they even put up little sticks where the little dense patches are, or where they find milfoil. So if you're down there and you see a stick, just keep it there, you know. But last yesterday, they came back with the Westwood sign, and what was the other one, Gary?
Narrow bridges.
Oh, Narrow Bridges sign that was kind of scoffed up and just thrown in the lake. So they also pick up debris. And so that's another residual of the milfoil program. Will our milfoil go away? Absolutely not. I thought that when I first started, 10 years we'll be out of this. It's 20. It's not going to go away. But we have reduced the milfoil to the point where it's controlled. And the dense beds are gone. And if we find one, it might be 16 bags or 30 bags, but then we go back and we're back there every single year to check it out. In June, we started with the lower lake because it has 2/3 of the milfoil that we always capture every year. We stayed there until the 1st of July. We've been 2 weeks with the upper lake. We'll be transitioning back down to the lower lake in another couple days. We'll be perusing the coves and the islands and all the other little 30 check spots that we have that we go and remove if we see milfoil. Last summer, we had a rebound season. It was the sunny days. The water temperature was up. The level of the lake was down, and we had a bloom at the end of the year where we had 30 bags. And it's so vivacious. The diver was saying the other day that when he pulled the root, because you have to pull the root out, feed it into the trough, goes suction hose goes in the trough, drops down in the gates, and there's onion bags, and it filters twice before it goes in the water. The water filters. he said that route, when he pulled it out, there were other routes that were wrapping around a rock. So you have to pull the rocks out in order to get the root. So that's what they do down there. That's not just suctioning, it's really hand pulling and hand feeding. And it's nice to see the younger generation come up through and have a lot of energy. And this gentleman has a lot of energy, which is good. This year's cloudy, cool, and so we're not seeing the levels that we've seen before, which I think is great, but we know it's still there. It's just not growing. So the thing is, we've got 200, let me see. So we have about 200 bags in the lower lake that we've reaped, and then probably, no, not 200, no, that's not right. So 200 in the lower lake, and I think about 150 in the upper lake so far. So we'll continue with that. I think a lot of you have noticed, not only is milfoil growing, milfoil growing, but I'll go quick. The milfoil is growing, but so is a new plant, our plant called Eladia. It's big mats, it's rope-like, it's hard to swim through. I get a lot of calls. If you see a plant and you want to find out what it is, just give me a call, and I'll run down, see what it is, and I'll let you know if it's native or if it's milfoil, and we'll come and take it if that happens. So we get money through the DEP. Thank you for the DEP. Thank you to the town of Gray, town of Wyndham. That helps to mitigate some of the costs of the program. And we also have a program now that has a drone, underwater drone. We're implementing with that. It's very exciting. New people, young people coming that do aerial drones, now doing underwater drones to identify plants, whether it's native or invasive. So that is on its way. It's in its infancy stages, but it's a lot of energy and a lot of fun. So I want to thank you again for all your donations, and we work hard to make sure that everybody enjoys the lake. Okay, thank you. A question?
Yeah, this isn't really milfoil, but I think it's worth mentioning. I live in the lower lake, Sheldrake Cove, and the amount of grass clippings that I see floating in the lake or washing up on my shore is unbelievable. Can we post on the website that if you're mowing your lawn near the lake, have your bagger on or at least go in the opposite direction of the lake?
My thing to you, or to those people that are doing that, is keep the grass growing on that edge and your geese won't come. And so keep away from the lake. All that stuff feeds, and it's the phosphorus and nutrients and all this other stuff. So yes, it's education. I get that every once in a while. Well, I thank you. It takes a team, and it always has taken a team, and everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, and everybody's done a great job. The one thing I have to say, besides the donations, is somehow, and we have people up above, whenever we've asked for something, we've received it. And it seems like it just automatically happens. Well, it doesn't automatically happen. So I do welcome you to the Blessing of the Lake tomorrow, because it's at 32 Aquila at 10 o'clock. And it's just a way to give thanks for every one of you and everything that everybody's done. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Pam. Next, to close out the meeting, we'll announce the winners of the Ice Out Guessing Contest. Ice went out this year on April 1st. I think that's a little earlier than the long-term average, but unfortunately, with the trend that we're seeing now, we'll probably see more and more of those early ice outs. The closest guess from a non-board member was Cheryl Narducci. She was the first one to guess April 2nd, which was the closest. And our board member, Barbara Sawhill, guessed March 28th. So with that, Pam mentioned tomorrow's Blessing of the Lake. The next upcoming event after that is the Pirate Parade on July 26th. And next, I would like to turn it over to Kevin and Deborah for the drawing of the raffle and the announcement of the auction winners.
So exciting. I know. I'm so weird on this time.
We definitely need to use both.
I will, I promise. I'll behave this time.
Okay, that's why you're all still here. I know it. That's why we do it at the end. So Pam just presented me with this beautiful acrylic photo of a mom with her son Sherlock. And apparently Sherlock is 3 years old, but this is a gift that was just given to us. It was too late to get into the rally, and Pam suggested that we try to auction it. Now, I'm not an auctioneer, but would anybody give me an opening bid?
$10.
$10 from Arnie. 15.
20.
20.
25.
25 from Betty. 30.
50.
50. See, I am an auctioneer.
You're better than you thought.
$50 for this beautiful acrylic photo. Pam, can you give us any more information?
It's done by Beth Sherlock.
Oh,
Up the lake.
Beth Sherlock. But is the chick's name Sherlock?
Sherlock.
Oh, okay. All right. So we have $50 for this. Thank you. Anyone else? Going once? Going twice?
100.
$100. Yay! That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay.
Take credit card?
Going once, twice, sold. And your name, sir?
Steve Drew.
Steve Drew. Steve, hi. Steve Drew. We've communicated so many times, but I didn't know what you look like. Thank you so much. $100. We'll thank Miss Beth Sherlock, and that'll go directly to the programs.
Thank you.
Okay, so now it's time to live draw the raffle tickets and the auction items. And again, thanks to everybody who contributed to this auction this year, the donations, Priscilla Cutts, Ellen LaChapelle, Sharon Lamontagne, Christy Sarchi, so many people, your friends and neighbors that you probably know, are donating their expertise and talents. All right, Kevin, let's go.
A lot of responsibility.
It is. I'm so glad it's not on me this year. You have to refresh so that it knows it's after 10 a.m. Yeah, because 47 is low. Here we go. $5,182 raised. And what's the 50-50 amount? Do we know? I think it's over 500.
Ready?
We're ready. If I win, don't be upset. I have over half the money in the 50-50. There it is. The Yeti cooler goes to Barbara Wood. Deb Kramlich has the shopping spree. Jody and Tim Tucker, the Bacon Pelly Luxury Salon. John Cahalan has the $500 LL Bean gift card. Judy Irish wins the Nani's Best Baked Goods. Christy Sarchi won the Lakeside Custom Wood Creation. Lori Sussman, Nancy's Custom Made Cheesecake. Sorry, Terry. And Sean Venden, the 50-50 cash prize. Stephen O'Leary, the LL Bean inflatable stand-up paddleboard. Congratulations to all the winners. Kevin, can we double check what the 50-50 was? I think it was over $500. Yeah, go to campaign up in the corner. Yep. And then Click on it. Click on it again. No. View campaign. Look, view campaign, no, higher. Nope. Yep, go up.
I don't know.
Higher. Okay, never mind. I just wanted to mess him up. Kidding. All right, Gary. Thank you so much, everybody, for supporting this.
Thank you all very much for attending.
Oh, the auction items.
Yeah.
Here they are. Okay, go ahead. Sorry about that. The auction items. Betty Caton wins the All Things Made Guided Kayak Tour, donated by Christy Sarchi. Arnie Rosario and Tammy, they won this beautiful fruit panel stained glass. Roger Bowden won the Little Sebago Lake Writers Bundle. Sandy Rideout, the Loon Family Original Acrylic from Sharon Lamontagne's painting. Diane Taylor, Loon Lovers Lunch and Learn. And I won the Sunspray watercolor donated by Deborah Ranger. It's gorgeous. And I deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a great summer. Rest of your summer.